Good afternoon and welcome to the Franz Edelman competition. My name is Ann Robinson. I'm the chair of this year's competition. I remind everyone to turn off their cell phones and minimize any noise as this session is being recorded. As a note of order, each presenter has an opportunity to speak for 40 minutes and then they'll have 10 minutes worth of questions from the judges. Please join me in welcoming the American Red Cross and Georgia Tech.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Deck, the Chief Manufacturing Executive for the American Red Cross Biomedical Services. In my role, I oversee and provide executive leadership over our biomedical manufacturing operations, primarily in the southwestern area of the United States. I am here today to tell you about the results of a project developed in partnership with Georgia Tech University that has had a significant impact on our ability to meet the growing demand of a critical healthcare product. The American Red Cross's mission is to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. Many people recognize our work in their local community, but few really know the full breadth of our humanitarian mission. We shelter, feed, and provide emotional support to victims of disaster. We teach skills that save lives, and we provide international humanitarian aid, support military members and their families, and we also supply about 40% of the nation's blood. Today, I'm here to speak about our biomedical services part of the mission, which is our blood services division. The Red Cross is the single largest supplier of blood products in the United States, collecting approximately 40% of the nation's blood supply. Last year, the Red Cross collected more than 4.8 million units of blood from nearly 2.8 million volunteer donors. And these donations were then processed into approximately 6.8 million blood products to meet the needs of patients at approximately 2,600 hospitals across the country. This project is focused on the collection and production of cryoprecipitate, or Cryo for short, and I will discuss more about the product throughout the presentation. We have 23 manufacturing facilities and 77 distribution sites throughout the nation. The Red Cross is able to maximize the potential behind every donation collected through our national inventory system. We have the unique ability to move blood across the country through our network of manufacturing and distribution sites to where it is needed the most during shortages or in times of disaster. In this project, we will be focusing on the cryo production that occurs in 13 of our 23 manufacturing sites. Maintaining sufficient quantities of blood products to meet the needs of patients is a very delicate balance due largely to the perishable nature of these products. It is estimated that only 38% of the U.S. population is eligible to donate. And of that number, only a small percentage of those individuals actually donate. We depend on volunteer donors to roll up their sleeve each and every day, because blood products cannot be stockpiled for a long period of time in order to have a reserve for disasters. The need for blood is constant. That is why initiatives like the one we will be presenting is so important to the Red Cross. This initiative helps ensure we are able to provide life-saving products critically needed for hospital patients. As a humanitarian organization committed to efficiency, we must have a consistent and cost-effective method to ensure that we are maximizing the potential of every donation to meet the ongoing demands of our healthcare industry, but more importantly, the patient who is in need of these products. We now have a short video that introduces our life-saving mission and how providing a specific blood product to patients in need is critical to fulfilling that mission.
Every 2 seconds, someone in the U.S. needs a blood transfusion. That someone could be an accident or burn victim, heart surgery patient, organ transplant patient, or someone receiving treatment for leukemia, cancer, or sickle cell disease. At the American Red Cross, we understand that this someone is not just a patient. It's a loved one, a grandparent, a mom, a child, who needs that blood donation to stay healthy, to treat an illness, to survive. Volunteer donors are the only source of blood and platelets for those in need of transfusions. And every day, the Red Cross must collect nearly 14,000 blood donations to meet the needs of patients at hospitals across the country. As the largest single supplier of blood products in the U.S., the Red Cross plays a critical role in our nation's healthcare system. The need for blood is constant, and the Red Cross must continuously look to implement operational efficiencies and innovative solutions to meet hospital patient needs. Let's look at one aspect of the blood production process more closely. After a generous volunteer blood donor rolls up a sleeve to donate whole blood, that pint is sent to a Red Cross production facility to be processed into different blood components, including red blood cells, platelets, plasma, and cryoprecipitate, or cryo for short. That's why just a single blood donation can help save more than one life. One blood product that can be particularly challenging to provide is cryo. Cryo plays a critical role in clotting and controlling hemorrhaging and is often used in the treatment of massive trauma and major diseases. Last year, the Red Cross provided more than 600,000 cryo products to hospitals across the country. The challenge with cryo? Well, almost all other blood products can be processed within 24 hours of donation. Cryo has only 8 hours after donation to be processed. The clock is ticking, and the demand is increasing. To develop a streamlined solution, the Red Cross worked with researchers from the Georgia Institute of Technology to increase the amount of whole blood that can be processed into cryo in our southern region. The researchers delivered. They developed a mathematical model and analysis that led to the implementation of a new decision support tool. With this new tool in place, the Red Cross expanded the capacity to collect and process cryo. We know that the journey of blood from the donor arm to the recipient arm is critical. That's why the Red Cross is dedicated to providing an adequate blood supply for patients who depend on us. Nothing is more important than delivering the mission at the Red Cross. Our mission is to help save lives.
In this joint project with Georgia Tech and the Red Cross, we worked collaboratively to identify the potential for additional whole blood units that could be utilized to produce cryo from in the Douglasville, Atlanta manufacturing site that serves 4 states in the southern region. This interdisciplinary collaborative plan benefits from many key tools, including operational research and analytics, data analysis and statistics, as well as field and contextual expertise provided by the Red Cross employees and the management team. As explained in the video, cryo is a critical blood product that plays a role in clotting and controlling hemorrhaging. It is used in the treatment of massive transfusions, organ transplants, and fibrinogen deficiencies. Cryo is made from approximately 20% of the blood that is collected by the Red Cross. To begin, I want to discuss why it is important for the Red Cross to look at our cryo collection and processing. Over the last few years, hospital demand for this product has increased in the United States. This is largely due to trends in our healthcare industry, which includes an increase in liver and organ transplants in the United States. Organ transplant procedures exceeded 30,000 for the first time annually in 2015. The guidelines for the use of fibrinogen in massive transfusion protocols have also increased, as well as positive results from clinical studies that have used cryo in cardiac surgeries and traumas. In addition, the cost for cryo is lower in comparison to alternative options of fibrinogen concentrates. In line with this trend, the Red Cross has experienced a 28% increase in demand for this product over the last couple of years. Last year, we distributed over 600,000 units to hospitals across the country. Producing cryo from a donated whole blood has some unique processing characteristics. Whole blood donations are used to produce the plasma product that is used then to produce cryo, with a critical caveat that the plasma must be frozen within an 8-hour time limit from the collection of the donation. This 8-hour time limit also includes the time needed to close down the blood drive, pack up the donated blood collected that day, and deliver those boxes to the manufacturing facility, which may include the added time of traffic congestion. Once that blood arrives at the manufacturing facility, Red Cross employees take it through a receipt and triage process where they look at the time the unit was collected and then prioritize in order to maximize production. While processing time windows, or the time needed to close down a drive, they're pretty consistent and controllable. But the number of donors who present to give and how quickly they can be processed at the drive, those are variables from blood drive to blood drive, and it can also be dependent on weather conditions. Traffic patterns throughout the day present another challenge. It was therefore important that we build into this project model the ability to adjust from day to day based on actual data obtained from the previous day. The donated unit of blood is processed into red cells and plasma. The plasma is then frozen and the products are tested for infectious disease. At that point, the plasma is thawed anywhere from 3 to 10 days after collection and manufactured into the final cryo product. Thus, there is a need to keep the schedule fairly balanced so that there is always a consistent supply of product available over the 3 to 10 day interval. Once the final cryo product is manufactured, it has a year out date from the time of collection. Most cryo products are shipped to hospitals within a couple of months from the time of production. The process of identifying the blood drive mobiles and blood donation centers to be used for cryo production has been a manual process. In many Red Cross facilities, there is a cryo expert who looks at all of our blood drives and donation centers and then determines, based on their experience, their expertise, what drives are viable for producing this product. This is a very labor-intensive process, and if an expert is not available, or if the facility doesn't have one of these experts, which was the case in the Douglasville, Atlanta site, it caused inconsistent production and the inability to consistently meet our assigned goals. For example, at the Douglasville site, they only met their weekly cryo collection target about 50% of the time. As with the entire healthcare industry, the Red Cross works diligently to be good stewards of our blood supply and produce the product consistently and as cost-effectively as possible for those patients in need. Therefore, the objectives provided to the Georgia Tech faculty and the Red Cross employees were: optimize the collection of whole blood units that can be used to produce cryo to help meet that increasing demand and ensure a balanced and consistent supply. It is critical we ensure the Red Cross is able to collect and process these units without exceeding our resources and time constraints for manufacturing the product. The next part of the objective was to maintain some low transportation costs, while at the same time increasing the delivery of the whole blood units that can be manufactured into cryo to our manufacturing facilities. And last of all, develop an automated operation research-based tool that can be utilized to quickly and easily identify these blood collection sites. I will now turn this over to Chip White, a professor from Georgia Tech, who will present information about the model.
Thank you, Mary. Let me now summarize the chronology of events for a 5-day collection week, Monday through Friday, although occasionally the Red Cross will also collect on Saturday and possibly Sunday. Before Monday, we're given the weekly cryo target, and we determine the sites for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday that will have mobile units packed with cryo bags. On Tuesday morning, we will know how many cryo units were actually collected on Monday and how many still need to be collected. Based on what we know on Tuesday, if we over-collected, we may cancel some of the previously selected sites while determining the sites for Thursday. If a site packed for cryo is not selected for cryo collection, then a wasted bag cost is incurred, but an expensive midday transportation cost may be avoided. What happens Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday follows a similar chronology. We considered two collection models. The first, which we call the non-split model, assumes each site is a cryo site or a non-cryo site over the entire collection window. We assume that the 8-hour constraint cannot be met by whole blood collected in the first half of the collection window without a midday pickup. Hence, for the non-split model, every cryo site requires a midday pickup. The non-split collection model describes the status quo operation in the southern region when we began our research. We note in this slide there are 4 sites needed and 4 midday pickups as a result. The second model, the split model, in addition to the 2 non-split options, also allows for the collection window to be split into 2 intervals, roughly a 50-50 time split. For this third option, the first interval is a non-cryo interval and the second, or end-of-drive interval, is a cryo interval. This option does not require a midday pickup since the mobile unit can return whole blood collected for cryo to the production facility and still meet the 8-hour time constraint. We note in this slide that 2 cryo sites and 4 split sites are needed to collect an equivalent amount of cryo, but only 2 midday pickups are required, which is half the number of the midday pickups compared to the non-split case. More specifically, in developing an OR formulation of the Red Cross cryo collection problem that Mary described, we assumed we would have a list of collection sites for each day, Monday through Friday, and the weekly target. For each collection site, we assumed we'd have 1, the cumulative distribution function for the number of blood units that we would collect, 2, the location of each site, which would help to determine the cost of the midday pickup, and 3, the beginning and ending time of the collection window. We assume 3 types of constraints: the 8-hour collection to production constraint, the cryo bag constraint, and the 2-day bag packing constraint. Our objective was to determine for each day of the week the actual cryo sites for the current day and the cryo sites for 2 days in the future. We considered 2 approaches for determining what intervals to designate as cryo intervals. The first is a greedy heuristic that ranks intervals on the basis of expected midday transportation collection cost per unit of whole blood collected for cryo. Intuitively, the closer the site, and hence the less expensive the midday pickup, and the more whole blood units that we expect to collect, the more attractive the site is for being designated a cryo site. This intuition is the basis of the greedy heuristic, which adds sites to the list of cryo sites ordered by the expected cost per unit of cryo collected until the target is reached, making adjustments as the week progresses. What we didn't know was the quality of this heuristic, which motivated us to model the problem as a finite horizon Markov decision process, our second solution approach. We knew the MDP would provide an optimal or near optimal policy for selecting the cryo collection intervals, and hence could serve as a benchmark for assessing the quality of the greedy heuristic. More formally, let D be the day of the week, A be the sites that will collect for cryo during the current day, which is the decision variable, A super D be the sites with vehicles packed with cryo bags, and Z super D be the number of units of cryo that need to be collected during the remainder of the week in order to meet the weekly target. Capital D super D is the number of cryo units collected, a random variable with realization occurring at the end of day D. Since a cryo site can be redesignated as a non-cryo site, but not vice versa, A is a subset of A super D. The single day cost is the sum of the actual midday pickup costs and the wasted cryo bag cost. The objective is to minimize expected wasted cryo bag cost plus midday pickup cost while meeting the weekly target, which we modeled as a chance constraint. Importantly, we remarked that the MDP solution approach that has significant computational challenges due to the cardinality of the state and action spaces. For example, assume there are 10 collection sites on day D. The weekly target is 1,000 units of cryo, and each site is either designated a cryo site, a non-cryo site, or a split site, which is the split model. Then A super D and A super D plus 1 can each assume one of 3 to the 10th values, implying that the state space cardinality is on the order of 10 to the 12th, and the action space cardinality is on the order of 10 to the 9th. This slide presents the full set of recursive optimality equations for a 5-day week, where V sub D, or super D, is the minimum expected cost to be accrued from day D over the remainder of the planning horizon. We adjust V super 6, the terminal cost, to ensure that the chance constraint is satisfied and to avoid fundamental issues of applying dynamic programming to a sequential decision-making problem under risk and uncertainty with a chance constraint. Let me now ask my Georgia Tech colleague, Turgai Iyer, to describe our solution techniques and numerical analysis. Turgai.
Thank you, Chip. One of the biggest challenges in cryo collection planning is uncertainty in the actual amount of collections at each site. To capture this level of uncertainty, using the historical collections data, we fit regression models with transformed variables that predicted actual collections at the site level. Each black dot you see on the figure represents a collection site with a projected collection amount X as given on the X-axis and an actual collection amount Y as given on the Y-axis. The solid line in the middle represents the predictive function, and the dashed line represents the 95% confidence intervals. As we see visually from this figure, the suggested predictive model provides an excellent fit to the data, which is also satisfied by our formal statistical analysis. Also, as a side remark, we see that the variation in those sites is higher with larger amount of projected collections. These fitted distributions were used in parameterizing stochastic cryo collections in the MDP model, and other model parameters such as costs were directly estimated from the historical data. Theoretically, the MDP model presented by Chip can be solved by using standard application of dynamic programming. However, as Chip also noted, the cardinalities for both the state and action spaces are very large, and hence, the original MDP model is computationally intractable. To deal with this challenge, we analyzed the MDP model structurally and proved several structural properties. In particular, we first defined a relaxation problem by removing the 2-day constraint and showed that the relaxed problem provides a tight lower bound on the actual problem. This is indeed very good news and reduces the size of the state space to the order of 10 to the 3. However, the action space for the resulting problem is still very large, and hence, even this relaxed problem itself is intractable. Second, in addition to this first relaxation, we show that the search for the optimal actions can be restricted to the set of non-dominated actions, which I will define formally in the next slide. But given this result, we find based on our numerical analysis that the cardinality of the set of all actions was about 100 times higher than that of the cardinality of the set of non-dominated actions. As a result, this finding significantly reduced the size of the action space and indeed led to a computationally tractable MDP model. By adjusting the resulting policy from this lower bound to make it a feasible policy, we were also able to generate an upper bound on the original MDP model and come up with a closed-form characterization of the optimality gap, which was defined as the difference between the upper bound and the lower bound. Now it is time to define the set of non-dominated actions properly. We say that an action A prime is dominated by action A if it results in lower intermediate or single-day collection costs, and the resulting probabilistic vector of collections is stochastically dominated by that of action A. We acknowledge that checking the stochastic dominance constraint may be difficult and time-consuming. In order to address this challenge, we further show that by simply checking that the expected amount of collections by action A is higher than that of action A prime, we can ensure that the stochastic dominance constraint indeed holds. As a result, checking and eliminating the set of non-dominated actions is simply reduced to computing and comparing expectations, which is obviously computationally very fast. To summarize, based on several structural analysis and theoretical results, we first generated a lower bound on the original MDP value function, which followed from relaxing the 2-day constraint. Second, we generated an upper bound on the original MDP value function by taking the lower bound policy and adjusting the actions so that it becomes a feasible policy of the original problem and hence provides an upper bound. And third, we were also able to analytically characterize the difference between the upper bound and the lower bound of the original MDP formulation, which we call the optimality gap. This optimality gap gave us a measure and benchmark for the quality of the policy produced by the MDP and the benchmark against which the greedy heuristic can be compared. Obviously, the smaller the gap is, the better the quality of the solutions are. As we will see in the following slides, some of the MDP-based policies outperform the greedy heuristic, but only slightly. As a result, we base our decision support system on the greedy heuristic, which is easy to implement, computationally efficient, and can be coded in an Excel spreadsheet. To assess the potential impact of our resulting policies from the MDP model, we use historical data to simulate the demand and then apply the policies from the MDP model to compute the cost differences of what happened versus what would have happened had the Red Cross used our suggested policies. The results show that the potential size of cost reduction for cryo collections were around 30 to 40% from the optimized version of the non-split model, as captured by the blue bars, and around 60 to 80% from the split model, as captured by the orange bars. Note that the optimized version of the non-split model did not require an operational change and simply automated and optimized the selection of the sites as cryo versus non-cryo collection sites based on a model which previously was done manually and was not optimized. While we acknowledge that these computational analyses did not capture several dynamics that may influence the total cost realizations in practice, such as a potential operational disruption due to the change in the collection model, these results nonetheless gave us the confidence that the proposed solutions had significant potential for cost avoidance and led to the implementation of the proposed decision support system. As we mentioned in the previous slides, we also compared the performances of the MDP models and the greedy heuristic using historical data. In particular, we were able to compute the optimality gap for the MDP and heuristic solutions. As we see from these results, the optimality gap of the MDP solution was less than 5%, and the optimality gap for the heuristic was less than 10%. This result gave us further confidence that the heuristic solution was not only extremely fast, but also competitive in terms of the quality of the solution. Let me now turn the presentation over to Diana Moroni of the American Red Cross to introduce the implemented version of the decision support system following from these results.
Thank you, Turgay. I'm Diana Moroni, Manufacturing Director at our St. Louis manufacturing facility and one of the end users of the operations research-based decision support system. The Cryo scheduling tool was developed for the American Red Cross with user input from operational employees like me, the expertise of the Georgia Tech team in analytics, and Red Cross's lean engineer. In general, there are 3 tabs on our tool. The first is a summary tab. The second is a schedule tab where the resulting output or results are computed. And the last is the Raw Data tab, where a user would input the required information, which includes the scheduled blood donation drives and their location. For ease of use for the end user, a simplified user guide is on the first page of the tool itself. The Cryo scheduling tool was built using a user interactive, conversational-based approach. All yellow fields on the tools are user inputs, meaning Red Cross employees can change or edit the fields depending on the situation or the specific needs of the manufacturing facilities. Let me review the user input fields briefly here. We would begin by entering the manufacturing facility's projected weekly target on the upper left field and then proceed through the rest of the fields. For example, if the Red Cross facility chooses not to collect products for cryoproduction on Saturday based on their specific needs, the manufacturing facility would simply answer no to the Saturday collection question. The travel time and maximum cost per unit ratio for midday pickup are important fields as they act as a limiter or filter criteria. The objectives of these fields are to create a balance between meeting the cryo demands while still considering the transportation cost into the manufacturing facility. The analytics-based tool will auto-calculate and populate conservative collection plans for each day of the week to meet the projected weekly goal. The actual process fields are user input where the manufacturing facility can enter actual collections received versus what was actually planned. This can indicate if the manufacturing facility will need to make changes to the cryo collection schedule by either adding or removing blood donation drives that will be used to produce cryo. The scheduled day of week button is macro-driven and allows us to adjust the collections dynamically over the week. On this screen is a sample of the resulting output screen that Red Cross employees at the manufacturing facility will use to communicate to the team that is running the blood donation drive. This is going to include the information on the type of blood bags to pack for the associated drive and when we will be picking up the blood that is targeted for cryoproduction. Note the green fields on this output screen. The first three fields indicate whether the drive is a midday pickup drive, a split drive which will run both cryo bags and non-cryo bags, or a full drive which will run all cryo bags. The second two fields indicate the actual number of cryo bags, known as triple bags, or non-cryo bags, which are known as double bags, that are needed for that specific donation drive. On this slide, you see a quote from my manufacturing manager about the time savings we have realized using this tool. It has freed up valuable time for operations management in 2 departments, and we've been able to remove a weekly meeting from our calendars, which I'm sure we can all appreciate. As a cost-conscious organization, this tool has given us the information we need to make much better decisions to keep blood donation drive transportation costs down. Here we also have a quote from Kevin Lee, who is a lean engineer for the Red Cross and was a major contributor to this project. I'm going to summarize his quote down to a less technical perspective by saying this tool has allowed us to maximize our collection opportunities in a cost-conscious manner, which results in the manufacturing site's ability to produce more cryo in this time of increasing demand. Ultimately, this is what results in helping us to save more lives. I'm now going to turn this back over to Mary Deck.
Thank you, Diana. The Red Cross initiated the pilot in the Douglasville, Atlanta area, and due to the success we had there, we rolled this project out to St. Louis, Missouri manufacturing site. Since rolling this out in the St. Louis area, as Diana has indicated, the manufacturing staff at that site have had a positive experience with the tool. With a simple implementation, and because of the excellent results we've achieved, the Red Cross is now looking at rolling this out at our 10 remaining Red Cross facilities that process cryo products. In the past, at our facility located in Douglasville, Atlanta area, we had experienced an inconsistent inventory of product to make cryo from and have not been able to consistently meet our assigned production goals. Through the use of the tool associated with this project, we have been able to identify blood drives and donation centers to collect cryo products that were not identified in the past. They have gone from only hitting their weekly goal at 50% of the time to hitting it at 87% of the time. Most of the weeks, we are exceeding our target. And on those few weeks that we missed, the gap was actually just a few percentage points below the goal. Due to the split drive concept, the Douglasville site has been able to increase our production by over 1,000 units a month, which is approximately a 20% increase without a corresponding increase in delivery expenses. Thus, at the Douglasville manufacturing site, we now have a consistent supply of the plasma product that was produced from a whole blood donation that can be used to manufacture cryo and not only meet, but exceed our weekly production targets. This ensures that the Red Cross has sufficient cryo product available on a day-to-day basis to meet the growing hospital demand for this product. The actual savings in transportation expense is hard to determine due to the fact that the Red Cross has implemented changes in our transportation program over the last few years, which included changes in contracts, vendors, and pricing, along with increasing the use of volunteer couriers. However, due to the decrease in transportation runs needed to meet the 8-hour cryo production requirements, we have estimated that there is approximately a 40% decrease in the per unit transportation costs associated with the manufacturing of cryo at the Douglasville manufacturing facility. Together with Georgia Tech, we have developed an OR-based analytic tool that has decreased the amount of time needed by the Red Cross management team to select blood drives for cryo production, provided a consistent way to identify all the potential blood drives that can be utilized to produce cryo, and allowed for a mechanism throughout the week to adjust the blood drives selected that will be used to collect whole blood for cryo production based on the actual production numbers. We have increased the availability of a critical product that has an increasing demand in the healthcare industry, and we've processed this life-saving product in the most cost-effective way. The process and the tool were presented to the entire Red Cross manufacturing executive team for evaluation. Upon review of the potential applications and the positive results from the use of the tool in the Douglasville manufacturing facility, our Vice President of Manufacturing, who regrettably cannot be here today, stated that this would be a substantial benefit to achieving production consistency in the cryo manufacturing production line. In conclusion, the cryo product has enabled the Red Cross to help ensure they are maximizing contributions from our volunteer blood donors and to provide hospital patients with the safest, most reliable product possible. This product is then available for many patients in need, including trauma patients. One trauma patient who credits blood donors with his survival is Matt Bishop, who was in a horrific accident. He suffered multiple broken bones, lost a tremendous amount of blood, and lost his right leg. For 12 weeks, he fought to survive and received multiple blood transfusions. He is grateful for the 2 gallons of donated blood that helped to save his life. Thank you for this opportunity to share how operations, research, and analytics, combined with blood collection and production expertise, can be utilized to improve the availability of products in the healthcare industry.